Hi, hello, and welcome back to HardStuck. I'm your host, Nick Thug Nasty Lavid, and couldn't be more excited to be joined by the incredible duo of Justin, Meta Pusher Wilkes, and Jay, 704 Not Found Burkholder. And strap in because we've got an exciting episode for you today that you won't want to miss. We're kicking things off with Recap Revive, where we relive all the jaw-dropping moments from this past weekend, and then get ready for Game Sense, where we'll predict what's coming for the week ahead. And finally, we'll full send and share what's got us buzzing around the world of esports. But let's kick things off with Recap Revive. That's all, folks. We're jumping straight into major qualifier number 3, where Boston Breach and Toronto Ultra stunned us with a split 1-1 record over the weekend. They pulled off some monumental upsets, but also had some surprising losses, with Ultra actually unexpectedly falling to the Boston Breach. Boston, the team of wild highs and wild lows. Major 2, we saw them beat 100 Thieves in round 1 of the winner's bracket, which nobody expected. But then they only won one single map the rest of the tournament. An extremely hot and cold team. So Justin, who's riding the hot wave right now and who's struggling to stay afloat?
Well, it's definitely been a weird couple of weeks. The results have been all over the place. I think that amongst those two teams, I'm going to give the hot moniker to the Toronto Ultra. I think they looked really solid. Obviously, the loss to Boston Breach doesn't look that good on paper, but there was obviously a lot of extracurriculars, a lot of drama around that, the issues around the connections, around the use of exit lag, and whether the TOs were fairly and equally making these kind of rulings. There's been a lot of discussion about that, and so seems like there's a lot of stuff. I actually don't blame Toronto Ultra for potentially forfeiting that match early on in these qualifiers. I'm not concerned about them making it, and I do think if there's stuff going on, someone should make a stand. So respect to the Ultra for doing that. I do honestly feel a little bad, though, that this segment is hot and cold, and I have to give cold award to the Boston Breach because they've been playing good. They look good. They look like they've turned a real tide on this season. So a little bit of kudos there, and I promise there's no... Well, here the hot and cold for this segment will apply to not just their gameplay. We'll say that the Ultra are hot because they're heated about all the drama, and that Boston is the cold team because it's cold in Boston.
Yeah, I'm going to steal your turn the knob a little bit. And I think for Boston Breach, it's just they have both knobs cranked at the entire time. It's like they'll pull off a crazy win and then they'll just fall flat. And it's like you never know which team you're going to get for them. And they are the epitome to me of lukewarm or hot and cold at the same time. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's consistency for Boston Breach. I would say the same thing. I mean, Toronto Ultra, they look really good right now. Again, the forfeit, that's very valid situation to have happen, and like maybe they recover from this and the league isn't too mad, and maybe teams aren't as mad either, and we go forward and it gets better. When it comes to Boston Breach, yeah, I mean, it's just consistency of maps, right? And playing against teams like Minnesota Rocker, it's like Rocker's looking really good, and to Boston's credit, that's not a dig at Boston. It's a +4 Rocker, right? So.
Yeah, Boston, I think, consistency is definitely something that they need to work on. But if you're talking about the bottom teams here in the CDL, having flashes of brilliance is a good thing. There's something to work with there. I'd much rather be a team that's inconsistent, sometimes good, sometimes bad, than a team that is consistently bad. Yeah. So I think this is a step forward for Boston. They're a scary team to match up for. I know they're probably a heart-wrenching team to try and root for as well. But for all the opponents in the league, I think this is a scary one that you need to be prepared for in all of your future matchups, because they'll throw some upsets out there.
Real quick hitter on the exit lag situation, since we are talking about the Ultra and Boston Breach, the match in which we had the forfeit. Exit lag, with a majority of these things happening online and you needing to have the best connection you possibly can, Counter-Strike, one of their sponsors for a lot of their orgs, is exit lag. It's right there on the sleeve. It's plain as day. So pro to using it or against using it, Justin?
I'm a pro to use it. I think it's part of the technology. Like, it's 2025. We're not in the year 2019 anymore. So let's use the technology we have. Exit lag is not some new thing.
Yep.
It's been around forever. I thought it was actually so hilarious. Listen to the flank. Listen to Patrick,
yes.
Patty P going like, yeah, what's exit lag? Is that AI? It's like, bro, people have been using this in esports for years. So I think it's time that the CDL comes. I'm pro.
Jay?
Yeah, this is not something you need a MOS check for. Like, honestly, if people have been using it for as long as they've been using it, and we're at the stage where, like, first of all, this should not be considered a cheat. But even if it was considered a cheat, right? I wouldn't see why. It's aiding players and it's not doing anything to change the game fundamentally.
Nope.
If it was, it would be considered a cheat, but it's not. So therefore, let them use it, man.
Yeah, I think the only con to me would be is the fact that those that aren't using it will then experience sometimes more lag to those that are using it. So I just say everybody use it. Plain and simple, everybody's on an even playing field again, and then nobody should have any qualms or anything to say about it. And the game should be better for all those involved. But now let's move on over and talk about Optic in the devoted green wall with a perfect 2-0 record this weekend. Jay, is Optic in the midst of a sweet honeymoon phase, or are we witnessing the dawn of something great?
I don't know if I would go as far as the dawn of something great.
Oh, come on now.
They're looking good. They're looking good. They're looking much better than previously. And I like it, for one. I like the style of play. Obviously, like the 3-0, that's looking really good.
Yeah.
So the optics are looking good.
Oh, my. Here we go again.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think they're playing pretty solid right now, and I think if you look at what Optic needed, they needed to start out good when they came back. I don't know if this is a team that's immediately going to be up there taking wins off FaZe and Thieves and Ultra, but I do think they are immediately very competitive and immediately a real threat. They look different than before, which is with how bad they were before. That's all you needed was some difference. And I didn't expect them to 3-0 the Cloud9 like that. The 3-2 with Boston felt like kind of a reasonable place for them to place coming out of this roster change.
Yep.
But 3-0 and C9 was very surprising. Dashy and Shotzi both looked pretty good. They look revived. They look renewed.
Yeah, it seems like with both of my questions so far, I think I'm going to have to go with a little bit of both. I think it is a little bit of honeymoon, and we'll talk about some of it a little bit later when we talk about Valorant. The vibes need to be right, and the vibes are right on this team, and part of vibes is the honeymoon aspect of it. So I think a little bit of that is true. However, I think they are on the dawn of something a little bit better with this new roster because, again, they took down Rocker, which was a little bit expected, but that 3-0 over Cloud9, which I know you all are a fan of, was huge for them and a step in the right direction. They have 2 more winnable matches this coming weekend, which, again, we'll get into a little bit later with Miami and Vegas. So I think they're on the right path.
Yeah.
But shifting gears, after an eye-opening 3-0 loss, the Vegas Falcons emerged transformed against the Miami Heretics, showcasing a revamped lineup. With this new roster, be the ticket to success, or is it just too late for the Falcons, Justin?
I think that it is the path to success. I don't know if it's going to come immediately. This is not a express lane to immediately getting big wins and deep runs in tournaments, but it's the path forward. They looked pretty solid. The 3-0 loss was rough, but I did enjoy watching them play against the Heretics. Our cities looked amazing in the first game.
Yeah.
And I really did feel like that there was something to this group of 4 players. There's something to that recipe that could really work. I think XNID and Pred are both serious fraggers and are putting up the kills that are necessary to get wins off of big teams. They have to kind of figure out all of the other stuff, though, all of the strategies. Who's going to be the selfish player? Who's going to be the selfless player? And who's going to kind of enable things? So I like it. I thought that it was a big step forward for the Falcons. So good signs.
Yeah, Jay, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to echo the sentiments of like this looks like a good step forward. I'm not convinced though. I'm not convinced that this team is going to throughout the rest of the season get many more wins. I think maybe Surge just had an off day, to be honest. But hey, it's looking good for the roster. They're playing well together as a team, much better than previously. And this roster again, like they have history together from Optic, so it's looking good.
Yeah, no, I think I'm a firm believer in Vegas. I thought they were going to pull up the upset against Miami Heretics last week. Took it to Game 5, wasn't able to do it. But like Justin was saying, the mix of Pred, Arcides, Priesta, and XNID. XNID previously was looking like, oh, he was just a bad player on a terrible team. I almost said a bad word there. Luckily, I didn't. However, now that he's surrounded by multiple world champs and still being one of, if not the top performer, only says great things about him in the future of this roster. And if they could build around him, or if this roster just clicks going forward, Justin.
And he's looking more comfortable in the respawns already with this new team. Like, I think, one, he's always going to keep his S&D brilliance, but with this new team, he's actually looking... Well, he always looked good on the respawns, but it actually feels like they could win them now. And he was making a lot of plays happen. He was going there, getting the entry kills, busting hardpoints wide open for his team. So there's something there. Get to Game 5, exited amazing S&D player, and you've got good pieces around him, and they actually have the potential to win games and make it to that Game 5 now. So good things.
Yeah, that was the meme of the weekend. Was Vegas finally won a hard point, and they're looking good. They're looking good going forward, and we'll get more into that a little bit later. But now, finally, on to Valorant Champions Tour Americas for weekend number 3, the exact halfway point of the action. Sentinels, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, and MIBR are all setting at a solid 2-1 at this midway point. Jay, which team truly dazzled this weekend?
This is the Sentinels that I look forward to. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I had hopes for EG. I really wanted it to go full 3, but, you know, I don't know if this is the same EG that we've seen in years prior at all anymore. And I don't know if they're going to look like that the rest of the season. Anyways, I digress. Sentinels looked fantastic. This is how you entry. This is how you play attack. Fantastic stuff. I also liked what I saw from MIBR this weekend. I had actually predicted Cloud9 to win that match, but I don't know what happened. It was back and forth all the way through, and Cloud9 just looked like they fell apart that last map. So, yeah, MIBR, they're coming out strong in this league. I think they're one of our best contenders right now.
They are. Aspis looked insane. I thought that C9 versus that C9... Oh, we were just talking about
MIBR.
The C9 versus MIBR match was insane. Aspis and Oxy dueling back and forth. Numbers. I agree that from the 2-1 teams, Sentinel definitely the best one. But here's my problem with it. I don't think they belong in this 2-1 team discussion. They should be in our next one, which is about the 3-0 teams. So I'm actually going to leave them out of there. I think that C9 MIBR match, very, very close, very, very telling, and also very indicative that both these teams are playing good. They're pushing each other when you saw them facing off against teams that weren't a G2 and weren't a Sentinel. It wasn't one of them crumbling and the other just getting an easy win. They both looked pretty solid, went back and forth. I like that matchup a lot, and I think both of those teams are some serious threats. You got to be on your toes when you're playing them.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is Sen, but I feel like as if they truly don't belong in the 2-1 conversation. They belong in our 3-0 conversation coming up, but MIBR is looking good. But however, back to my Sentinels prediction from last week, I said 26-6. It ended 26-10 over EG. I knew they woke that sleeping giant in Sen. It was going to be quick work.
Claps for Nick.
Sorry, evil genius.
Real claps for EG, though.
No, you're the real evil genius here.
Yes. But also to Justin's point, I love seeing Aspas back on Jet. That's how we all started to know him back in Season 1, Season 2. Was an amazing Jet player, so able to see him flex into that this weekend was also great to see. So
there's been a lot of high praise for Aspas around the office, too. Davis, one of our other workers, told me he was someone who he considered the best player in the world at times. Maybe not in the most previous bit. And when he told me that, I was like, whoa, okay, I figured that out. But it really showed it. Like, I could see... I could see the reasoning by that little bit of analysis. So shout out to Davis and shout out to Aspas.
Yeah, MIBR, I think, is a real sleeper team in this group that not a lot of people are keeping their eyes on, especially with the likes of 100T and Sentinels. But on the other side of it, we have our undefeated teams, G2 and Crew, Group A, Group B. Justin, which of these Titans have truly outperformed so far?
I feel like I've got, for outperform, the top side, I'm going to give it to G2. I think they're definitely the better team when you're comparing these two. And it's probably not even close when you put them side by side. But major shout out to Crew. They've thoroughly passed where they should be. So most improved, most surprising, definitely going to give that portion of the kind of award there to Crew. And who's going to keep it going moving forward? I think G2 is in a really great spot. They've got a really fairly easy matchup coming up this week against Leviathan. And the next two matchups for Crew are going to be pretty tough. They're taking on both EG and Sentinels in the next 2 weeks. So time to really show up. If they can, though, keep 2-0 through these next 2 weeks, and they've got a 3-0 record against all the NA representatives in their group. That's a true performance. I will fully throw away all the the doubting thoughts that I have in my head, and I'll give them the full thumbs up for being right above everybody aside from Sentinels and G2.
I mean,
G2 or Crew, Jay?
G2 is looking really good.
Yeah.
And have looked really good all year. Astonishingly good, I should say. Crew, though, has come out of nowhere to be one of the best teams in this league right now. I will say they've had pretty easy matchups aside from Sen in week 2. And for that, I think they're going to win against EG as well. And then the hard matchup is going to be 100 Thieves, because that's really going to put the test on, like, well, is 100 Thieves or Crew better? And right now, I don't know. I think they're playing at the same consistency level.
Yeah.
Not taking into wins and losses, just taking into where these teams are at playstyle-wise. But Crew, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see what it looks like as we head towards playoffs and Crew versus G2, who would win out there. Consistently, based on history, I'd have to give it to G2, but what an underdog story it would be for Crew to be the best team in this league.
It would. It would also cause a bunch of issues moving into the next stage if Crew holds this lead, keeps it out, because it comes out as the 1 seed from the other group, and Sentinels is the 2, and then we potentially get tough and funky matchups. Things could get real complicated.
Yeah, outperforming team, I've got to give it to Crew, because like we just said, they put down Sentinels, and they put them down easily, is one of another teams that we think is top performing, not only in VCT Americas, but the entire world. So I'm actually going to give the upper hand to Crew right now. They're looking hot, and hopefully they can continue that hot play going forward. But going from 3-0 to our 0-3 teams, and we're going to be as blunt as we can here. Hopefully make some fans out of everybody out there.
Fans are
struggling
one of the
teams
2
on the bottom. We got Furia, we got Loud, both searching for their first win. But Jay, which of these teams doesn't even belong in the league?
I mean, they look really bad.
Yeah.
Both of them. But Furia last week, you could have told me that this was Challengers. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Sorry, Furia. You're looking really bad.
Understand.
Stinker team.
Yeah, I'm there too. Furia looks really rough. In their last 4 maps, they've only got 11 round wins, which is just insane. How can you not get enough round wins to win a map in the last 4 chances? Like, I mean, their round differential doesn't
insane.
even look remotely competitive. So they need to figure some things out, or
Yeah, I mean, they look bad on attack and defense.
yeah, bring out the shotgun riot. Well, old Yeller 'em.
You asked me
Not the players themselves.
Take 'em out
their metaphorical participation in the VCT.
Yeah.
knock them on down to challenge.
Yes.
Totally
Get the Bucky and swing mid.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
But honestly, though, Loud, you got off lucky too. Just the fact that Fury has been playing so bad, because I think Loud also is really rough. Their players maybe don't look individually as bad as Furia, but the fact that they can just seemingly never win a 1v1 on the map, it's just also pretty lost for them. So be grateful that there's worse teams behind you.
Well, and I also say to Loud, like they've had harder matchups too.
Yeah.
Like you play Crew, who right now is doing insane, and then 100 Thieves as well. Now losing the 2G.
CJ, this is like you're not stealing my thunder, but at the same point in time, you're making all of my points for me.
Yeah.
My answer 3 weeks ago would have been 2-game esports.
Yeah.
However, 2-game esports beat Loud. Loud, you gotta go. You gotta go. Plain and simple. The strength of opponent is way different between Furia and Loud. Furia playing Leviathan, NRG, and G2. It's just bad.
So if you were the commissioner of the VCT, would you remove 2 teams, 3 teams, and just hard rule, just only looking at what we're dealing with right now?
What about EG too?
How many are you getting rid of? What's your call?
No offense, EG.
Well, the great thing about group stage is we're kicking 4 out.
There we go. Yep. Okay.
Oh man.
And I know we might have some predictions coming up later, but I think EG's gonna sneak back into safety.
Okay.
So we'll see. And again, unfortunately, to our Brazilian and Chilean representatives, it's not looking so good for them going forward.
Yeah, and actually, that does sound a little bit better than kick them out of the league violently. We'll just remove them from the groups.
Nobody-
we'll
They're
use the
invited back
format.
in the future.
Yes, we'll old yeller them with the format.
Nobody will be old yellered just yet. But stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back with more electrifying esports action.
Hello everyone, Patrick Colville here, one of the hosts of Skill Diff. And are you excited for the Switch 2 and all this new functionalities, this chat features, this cameras, stream sharing, Mario Kart World perhaps? Well, check out this week's episode of Skill Diff and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Welcome back to HardStuck, and it's time for our Game Sense segment. We're diving right into the CDL as we gear up for weekend number 2 of Major Qualifier number 3. Yes, that was a lot of numbers, but stay with us. Jay, what match has you buzzing with excitement this weekend, and what's your bold prediction? Just a heads up for you and you alone, it can't be Carolina Royal Ravens.
I thought you were going to say it has to be only one. It can't be 3 different ones.
Well, now we lost his pen, but...
Okay, but I'm most excited. You're going to love this. You're going to love this.
About the Carolina
I'm
Royal
most
Ravens.
excited for this match, not because of the Ravens, but for Minnesota, okay?
Okay.
I am so interested to see how Kenny performs right now. And I do think the Ravens is going to be the matchup that tells us how good Rocker is as a team. Okay? That's why I'm picking that, not because of the Ravens. Optic versus Falcons is also my next match to watch out for. And the reason is I want to see, again, how the new roster for the Falcons performs, but also I think Optic is going to crush them.
Wow. Revenge match no more, crushing incoming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Old Yeller callback maybe.
Yeah.
Justin, how about you?
And I think that's a great shout out. I think the first was going to be super competitive. The Royal Ravens match. If you told him not to pick it, I was gonna give him a little bit of love there, and have thrown that one out there. I love that Optic matchup as well. My shout will actually be the first Optic matchup, Optic versus Miami. I think Optic has a pretty good lineup this week, Miami and then Falcons. They could have a nice 2-0 week in front of them. It might seem like a reoccurring theme on this episode, but I'm feeling pretty pro Optic right now. I think they are going to perform pretty well, and those are the two matches that I'm really going to be watching. I want a 2-0 from them, and I would like it to be clean in some aspects. 3-0, 3-1. I'll take something good, but I want it in both of them.
You didn't predict the Rocker Royal Ravens matchup. What's your prediction, sir?
It's 3-2 in favor of the Ravens.
3-2 Ravens.
That's a good call. It's going to be close. That's my reason for liking that matchup as well. It's just that I think it's a very even matchup between those two teams, and I think both of them. This will be the turning point. Whoever gets the win here, I think, has themselves set up well for the rest of the season, and whoever loses, they'll be in some trouble.
Yeah, I think we talked about all the close matchup this weekend. This weekend looks like a little cookie cutter, unfortunately. However, I'm going to shift my focus on over to Thieves and the Ultra. I think the Thieves are going to get a 3-1 win here. I don't think it's going to be as close as everybody expects on that one. But, Justin, after our thrilling first weekend with all the roster shakeups that we had, what are your current power rankings from 8 to 1?
From 8 to 1, this was a pretty tough one with, like I said at the top of the show, like all the unpredictable results, all the changes happening. Things are going all over the place. Down at number 8, I'm going to give it to the Rocker. I think I like their changes, and I like the way Kenny has moved things forward. Above them at number 7, I've got C9. Okay. This is maybe a little bit of a tough one because they just performed a little bit rough this weekend, but I think that they do still have good enough players. They'll figure it out. This was a down moment for them, and hopefully they find their way back out of it. Next up after that, Optic. So I've been harping on them. I think they're really solid. I think they'll work their way back up there. I've got them then that's the 6th position.
Yep.
Then the Royal Ravens afterwards in the 5th.
Okay.
Surge in the 4th. Then I've got a split. Shared 2 between the Ultra and the Thieves.
Whoa, Jay. Whoa.
That's right. But I'm going for accuracy, not just entertainment. So I'm sharing the 2 there. And whoever wins that matchup on Sunday, I believe, or is that a Monday one?
That is the last matchup of the weekend, Sunday at, I believe, 6:30.
Yeah, whoever wins that one, they'll get my undisputed number 2 slot, at least during these online phases, and then that leaves FaZe up at the top. Even after dropping their map, I still think they're the big dogs. I still think they're the ones to beat, and I don't think that loss is indicative of any real change in position for them.
Totally understand. Jay, how about yours?
So in my 8th, I have Heretics.
Okay. Wow.
I think their map wins speak for themselves, where they're not again, they're not above that 8th position by any means, and I don't think they will be any closer by the end of this league to 7th or even 6th. But I do think that they have been consistent in that 8th position.
Okay.
Optic is in my 7th, and I do think that they have the opportunity to climb. You think that's interesting?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, do you think they should be higher or lower?
Oh, we'll go over mine in just a moment.
Okay,
so you
okay.
Continue. Don't let my sudden outburst derail your conversation.
Well, please refrain from any comments while I get through this list.
My apologies.
Just kidding. You're more than welcome to comment on it. Optic, I want to see more, and so they could go higher or lower. I don't know. I want to see more. Carolina Roll Ravens in 6th. I think probably people are surprised. Maybe I don't have them higher in that list. Again, I just need to see more, and in a different way, I just need to see more from people who should be performing. Slasher. Anyways.
Wow.
Surge in 5th. Surge has just been consistent overall this entire league. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I almost had another outburst there.
Yep.
Let's continue.
Keep it controlled.
Surging right ahead. And this is crazy, but I have Rocker in 4th.
What? Okay.
The reason is because I think this team is going to perform the rest of the season. Okay. Call me crazy, but you will see. You will rue the day that you misjudged me. And Rocker. Ultra in 3rd. Again, I think they've proven to everyone that they deserve that 3rd spot by now. And then Thieves in 2nd, FaZe in 1st. Very predictable picks there.
It's time. Number 8. I don't know. I think I'm the fanboy now.
Okay.
Vegas Falcons. I really like what they're doing over there. It's a true underdog story. I got to give it to the Vegas Falcons. 7, Cloud 9, 6, Carolina Roll Ravens. I actually agree with Jay, and not too far off from Justin at 5 over there. And I guess I'm the individual with them rated the highest currently, but the talent is just unmatched for Optic from top to bottom, no question about it. So I've got Optic, Texas at number 5. Number 4, slight falter, had to forfeit this past week, Toronto Ultra. 3, I don't know how you both, I guess, 1-4, 1-5. Vancouver Surge has 2nd at the minor, 2nd at the major, coming out looking strong. I've got them at number 3. 100T, even though a slight falter at the major, still have them as the 2nd best team. And then I think, as we all agree, no question about it, still FaZe at number 1.
Wow. I don't know about Surge, man. I mean, this past weekend, there was a lot of shakeups, but they just didn't look as strong. And maybe that's I don't know, just them not being a full unit and it's an off day. But I want to see more from Neptune, to be honest.
Okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. Put the pressure on that man's shoulder, and he'll carry Surge to the finish line. I've got a lot of faith.
They'll surge ahead.
Hopefully they will. But on to Valorant Champions Tour Americas, week number 4 of 5. Group play bracket play is just around the corner. EG, Loud, Leviathan, and Furia find themselves in must-win situations this week. Justin, which team stands the best chance of securing a crucial victory?
Well, all 4 of these teams have pretty difficult must-win scenarios, so it's going to be an uphill battle. My pick's going to be EG against Crew. I think it's a tough one, but I do think that's, if you're looking at all the matchups, that's the most likely one to throw some potential hopium into. That being said, there are some serious map concerns for EG against Crew. I think they're very likely to win one map, but getting the full series would be a big issue. Bind and Icebox are so good for Crew, and EG's been having a lot of issues on Pearl and Split. So things will be tough, but I think borderline, if you look at all 4 of those matchups, it's not going to look good for any of those 4 teams. So
it's not. I'm curious if Jay can pick the diamond in the rough here. Concerned look on his face. Okay. See what he's going to go with.
I don't know what you're smoking, man.
Whoa!
Crew, I think, is going to demolish EG.
Okay.
Sorry, EG, but you're just looking really rough, and Crew is looking on top of everything.
To be clear, I agree.
Fair. Okay. All right.
So then who's your pick? Which one of those bottom matchups?
You're just saying it's most likely
Yes,
out of
yes.
these. Okay, you don't think any of them are going to win.
No, I don't think Loud, Leviathan, or Furia Furia will win.
It's a bad week.
We just said
is
we were
kind
going to
of a
own
bad
Yeller Furia, so are you going to pick them right now?
I just think Cloud9 is not as consistent as they should be. And
Fair.
if Furia is going to get a win this week, or at all, it's going to be against Cloud9. And I think they really, truly have to put on the turbo this week. And I think if there's any team out of those 4 that can put on the turbo and say, nah, we're in it to win it, it's them. Yeah, if this was like week 2 again and EG was facing Sen, I'd say EG. It's not though. They're facing Crew.
You also got to keep in mind though that this is the NA hope, and we're pouring everything.
Yes.
We're pouring everything into EG here. We need EG to take Crew down and win this for us. So I do feel like the whole region will be watching that one and rooting them on and really
It'll feel more normal.
hoping that we open things back up for Sin to reclaim their top spot in the group. So
Yeah.
I've been there's been much crazier predictions made than that EG would beat Crew, even on this show alone today.
This is true.
That's true. But I think EG, even if they do lose this week against Crew, they have Loud next week. Yeah, so I think they're still going to find a way to
They'll get a win.
to scrape out into bracket play. But I kind of have to agree. If I was a Vegas odd maker, I would have to give it to Furia having the closest odds against C9, better than the other 3 matchups. But it wouldn't surprise me if EG did end up beating Crew as well. So a lot of matchups to keep an eye on this weekend. But Jay,
We're not putting a lot of money on any of these.
No.
Very small bets.
No. But with that being said, Jay, are you anticipating any jaw-dropping upsets this weekend that we didn't already talk about?
I mean, I'd love to see NRG versus MIBR. I don't know how much of an upset it would be if MIBR won. And I don't know how much it would be in the opposite direction. Both teams looking much better than previous years, but not the most consistent. And I think it's going to be close, if anything. So I will be watching that. I will be invested fully throughout that. And I think it's going to go 3 maps.
Yeah.
If I had to give it to a team there, I'm going to say MIBR, just based off of last weekend's performance.
So then that's not an upset. So then that's your opposite.
You're right.
upset.
You're right.
So you have to give it to NRG. You can be with me then, Jay, because that's exactly what I have written down. Not necessarily an upset, really. However, NRG is currently 1-2. MIBR is 2-1. I'm a big Ethan and Sam fan. I think this is going to be the upset of the week. We could be together on that prediction.
It's a good pick too, because I think it might not be an upset in the standings, but it would be an upset for like MIBR hopes in their continued upward growth. This team's looking really good, and I think beating NRG, while it wouldn't be something that we're going to write home about and we're going to be like, oh yeah, this is what propels them to the absolute top of VCT Americas, it's what they should be doing. And so if they do fall to that, it would, in my opinion, I consider it a little bit of an upset. Like, could happen. Not going to give it insane odds, but I do think it's a great one to watch.
Same match, and you're going on the other side. You're saying MIBR is going to take it.
Yeah, I'll give it 2-1 MIBR. I think it could go very easily
game
either
3,
way.
though.
Game 3. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
I'm tempted to just say 2-0 MIBR, but nah. We'll go 2-1.
We'll save some more bold predictions for a little bit later down the road.
So I think we're in agreement, though, that like we don't know that there's going to be an underdog this weekend, but we're all saying that that's the match to watch.
No question about it. But shifting gears on over to Counter-Strike PGL Bucharest. This tournament's been going on this whole week. We're swiftly moving from Swiss play to a single elimination format over just 7 days. Mongols, Liquid, and Falcons are all facing elimination matchups with 0-2 records. Which of these typically dominant teams is in hot water going forward, Justin?
I don't think it's Falcons. I think they've got a pretty reasonable opponent ahead of them in Pain to potentially make it back out and keep their life alive in this tournament. I think Mongols and Liquid, I think this matchup against each other is very surprising to see between 2 teams of this caliber. And if I'm going to put one team in the hot pot, I'm going to say it's Mongols. I think that they look lost. They've looked lost ever since that last elimination match in the last major when they fell to G2, falling to Apogee, who has gotten some more wins, is looking pretty solid, not looking like a complete and utter embarrassment of a team to lose to. They actually looked really solid. But I think Mongols has lost something and needs to figure it out. I feel the spirit of Kepley Tumbleweed behind me, whacking me on the back of the head for talking badly about Mongols. But I believe in Liquid, and I think they're going to take down Mongols, knock them out of this tournament.
Wow.
And, yeah. Give them a nice little break. They've been playing a little bit too many tournaments. I think they need the break.
I'm a fan of that. Jay, how about you?
I do agree with the break part for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of these teams play countless hours of Counter-Strike week to week to week, and I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm not a pro though. The Mongols, I think, are actually going to lose to Team Liquid, but I do think Team Liquid looks like the better team here. Or did I say that backwards?
The two things you said
Sorry.
make sense with each other. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Brain fart moment. But yeah, I just think like Team Liquid right now, I don't think they're going the extra step in this bracket. But in this matchup, I'd be worried for Mongols. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Falcons, they have looked so bad in this tournament. And I don't know that Monacy going to them is going to fix the future.
Hold on, we haven't spoken to
Okay.
legal if that's public knowledge yet or not.
I believe it is.
Okay.
I believe it is.
The potential Monacy transfer.
Potential, yes. Yes, potential. We don't even know the numbers on that. But apparently,
We just know they're very
many
big.
millions.
Yeah.
Very big.
Seems very good to like. It seems fairly confirmed. I think we're good to talk about it, but they're not playing together in this tournament.
Nope.
So it's just questions, both about the present and the future.
Well, and it's interesting too because G2 is looking good as always, and I actually we'll get to that. We'll get to predictions on that. But when it comes to the Falcons, I want to see more. As a team, I just don't think they're winning rounds like they could. Nico is looking as good as ever, but if you've just got one man, again, that's probably why they need Monacy.
Do we think if we're picking maybe Falcons and Liquid as the teams to kind of make it out of this little like trash can battle, how far do we think they'll make it? Or do we think they're going to go far in the tournament, or is it a short-lived life that they've fought for?
No, I think my answer is Falcons because Monacy isn't there yet. They may win the first matchup, but I don't think they're gonna. It's first to 3 wins or first to 3 losses and you're out. And they're going to be on the tightrope this entire way. And I think some better teams are going to fall down their way. And I think they're going to make a quick exit. Unfortunately. But we're just talking about Falcons a couple CS events ago of them not performing up to expectations. So it's them. They're the ones in hot water. No question about it. However, with Vitality, Spirit, and Mouse sitting out for PGL Bucharest, who do you anticipate in the clash in the championship, and who's bringing home the trophy this week, Jay?
G2.
Who are they playing?
G2. What is it looking like for round 4? They are.
I'm thinking potentially Aurora. Eternal Fire Aurora.
Well, we'll just throw it over, Justin. Justin, what's your potential match?
Yeah, we'll let Jay cook on that because that is my pick. I do think those for the finals is going to be G2 and Aurora. I think I picked them last week, Eternal Fire, when they were Eternal Fire, to win Bucharest here. I think that the potential break they have coming up, the new change of home and all these things further the motivation that I spoke about last week, that feeling of let's make something happen real quick before that break that we have coming up. I think they look really solid. Woxic looked amazing when he's actually been a little bit down recently. And Xantares, despite his sickness, still fragging out, still playing really good. I like this team in any tournament where the big boys are gone. And yeah, if Monacy doesn't go crazy in a finals, I don't think G2 is going to beat them.
Yeah. Oh, wait, so you're giving it to Aurora?
Yeah, I'm sticking with my pick from last week.
Because I was already queuing up a clean sweep graphic, but producer Pat, hold tight. We don't need it just yet. I've got G2 and Aurora in the grand finals as well. However, I do believe that G2 will secure the victory. Monacy will come out on top, and then they'll start to question the move, and there's going to be a lot more drama, and I'm begging and dreaming for the dramas. But you're saying Aurora.
Yep.
Jay's saying G2. I'm saying G2. Is Aurora even going to make the grand finals, Jay, after more cooking?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I think they struggle in late bracket, as they've consistently done. And actually, I would love to see.
Not against these teams.
Dude,
they struggle late bracket
Sure,
against the big
dogs.
dogs.
Sure, but I think they get nerves when they get to late bracket, whatever. I understand when they go up against Team Spirit and Vitality, yes. And Mouse, they're going down, okay? But against G2, anyways, I'm going to go with the underdog pick of FaZe here. I really want to see FaZe go all the way.
Okay.
And whether that's based on fact or fiction or just my interest in seeing FaZe win it, I'm going to go FaZe.
Okay. But you still, so G2 still on top, but you think G2 versus FaZe?
Yes.
You think, if that happens, it's got to be a 3-0, right? You think G2 3-0 is FaZe?
No. I think they get a map.
Okay.
The hopium is strong with this one. However, forget the clean sweep graphic. We just changed it all up. Aurora, G2.
That's right.
But hold tight, everyone. We'll be right back after a quick break.
So guys, it's Davis from Queued Up, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about why you should watch our show. I think our show gives a little bit of different takes than a lot of the other shows we have on GGN. It's a lot of opinions, and there's a lot of personality on our show. You kind of get 4 different takes of who they like, things that they like, the esports, things that they don't like. So it gives you a broad horizon of thoughts, and I think we're a good show, so you should come watch us.
We're back on HardStuck, and it's my absolute favorite segment. It's time to full send. Justin, it's been a while since we talked about League of Legends. What's the scoop?
Yeah, so it's been a week, surprisingly enough. Very regular amount of time when we talk about these subjects here. But yeah, so
we haven't had any tournaments, though. We're now finally back into some tournaments.
Yeah, we're in the regular season. LEC and LTA are progressing. Week or two matchups for us, so not a lot of stuff. But it's been pretty solid. The teams are competing back and forth. The top teams that we expected, both regions, have moved their way up to the top, but nobody really making a big gap between each other. FlyQuest 2-0 in the first week, and G2 2-0 as well. So things looking really good from them.
Faker doing Faker things, I assume, as always.
Yeah, not in these regions, but yes, the
understand
the
overall,
Fakers of their regions are doing them.
Faker is still doing Faker things. So Justin, what matchups are you looking forward to coming up?
I've got 2 big ones for the LEC and for LTA.
Okay.
100 Thieves versus FlyQuest in LTA North. A battle of 2 of the top teams. They're both very exciting when they play each other. We love seeing Bwippo and Sniper face off in the top lane.
I know we just touched on game sense, but who's winning?
FlyQuest.
Okay.
I think FlyQuest 3-0. I think they're our top team once again, and they had better be the team to make it to MSI.
Understand.
And then for the LEC, we've got Vitality versus Fnatic. So Vitality competing against one of these top teams that we're talking about. Roster change. Fnatic, former mid laner, now playing support for Vitality. A lot of fun little storylines, and I think it should be a competitive matchup in a pretty boring overall week of European League.
Understand. Jay, Marvel Rivals is heating up across the globe. What are your thoughts on North America and how things are progressing so far?
It's been really fun to watch. It's great watching the progression of this esport all the way from, when Shroud was like, should I make a team? We're going to make a team. And then them making a team, Shroud X actually not performing very well in the early invitationals, but actually making it to a late bracket here in the championship. And speaking of the championship for season 1, it went really awesome. There is a huge storyline building, which has been building for years over the course of esports in NA, which is Sentinels versus 100 Thieves rivalry. And that enacted itself here again. It happened last time in the second invitational. Sentinels losing there and 100 Thieves getting the upper hand. Again, 100 Thieves has the bot team, not the BOT bot, but the BOU GHT team,
Purchased.
right? The purchased team from season 0 was the most winningest team there and now has been pretty much the most winningest team overall throughout this entire series. But they get 7-0'd by Sentinels in this late bracket. So in upper bracket finals and then to grand finals, they lose 3-0 and then 4-0 there. So wow, huge upset you could say there. But something really cool about that is that Sentinels are playing off the backs of Aramori, who is one of the first out of a very short list of professional women in esports. So this is really cool to see. And there's been some discourse on Twitter about it too. Sentinels tweeting a few things about, hey, everybody who talked crap about women in esports now, you can shut up because look at this. And Nadeshot, CEO of 100 Thieves, actually responds to that really positively, saying, this is a huge win for the scene. This is a huge win for women in esports. Love seeing it. Congrats to y'all. So that's big.
No, that's great to see, and especially on the timeline, even with as much of a rivalry that's between Sen and 100 Thieves, seeing a little positive, an olive branch coming across to unite us and to continue to move us forward, I think is great to see. Justin, what are your thoughts on some Marvel Rivals action? You getting into it yet, or not quite yet?
Not quite yet. We'll see how it continues to build and if it continues to draw my attention more. I really enjoyed playing it when it first released, but the esport hasn't really sold me on it too much. I like to give it a little bit of room to breathe and a little bit of time for that history to form, and then I'll dip my toe in. But that's awesome news. Congrats to Aramori, and yeah, there's so much progress forward in the esports world that we're making and that has yet to still be made. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think only time will see what happens from the esport. And Jay just a moment ago was talking about the GOAT of Marvel Rivals, and I was like, whoa. It's far too early to be having a GOAT conversation in a game that hasn't even got off the ground yet. Even though I'm a huge Marvel Rivals fan, that's probably the only game I've played in 2025. So huge fan, looking forward to see where it's going. But let's switch gears to Nintendo Direct. You might be wondering, why are we dipping our toes into Nintendo Direct?
Where's Halo?
This is an esports show. But hear me out just a second. With the exciting announcement of the Switch 2 and the release of Mario Kart World, it's fascinating to think about how this will play into the esports scene. Can we even manage 24 racers in one intense LAN? Who knows? Mario Kart demands an massive esports following across the world. It may not be big as some of the other games that we're talking about. Shout out to my boy Nightcrawler, who runs USA Mario Kart out in Las Vegas. They have LANs every single weekend at the HyperX facility out there. But I'm curious to see if they're going to run Mario Kart 8 when the new game releases, or if they're going to switch over and change the whole concept. I'm not sure how the open world concept for Mario Kart World is going to apply into the races and what shortcuts there will be. There's like 100 characters. I don't even know. I'm making up numbers as I go here. But spicy take, because we had a lot of people around the office buzzing. They're like, Mario Kart, Mario Kart. All right, so we all know what's coming next, right? Wrong. No Smash announcement coming up. And that's another massive esports title that we even play at the high school level. And however, I think they're holding it back for a reason. They didn't want to take away the shine from Mario Kart. I think we'll still see a new Smash game. If it's not coming out this year, it'll at least be announced this year.
I mean, they have said in past, the creator of Smash Bros. Has said when Ultimate came out, he was like, this is probably gonna be the last one, guys. And to be fair, it is Ultimate. Like, it genuinely lives up to the name. It really does. Yeah. It's got like every character ever in that game. It's becoming Fortnite at this time as a fighting game, and it's fantastic. Now the caveat here, and this is my second point, is that it still has not boosted above Melee. And so that's a thing, right? Is like, in the fighting game community, Melee is still the king of all Smash. Yep. And it is still the most played at tournaments. Yep. And it is still the most competitively viable over Ultimate. So I'd love to see, when a new Smash title comes out, it be the new Smash that beats Melee, because I don't think Ultimate has done that. But I do think, and this is my last point on it, is that Ultimate needs more time to breathe and stick around until they introduce that title, so that it can become the new Melee before we get the new Smash title that can become the new Smash. Yeah, and I think that's my concern with Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart World. I just think it's going to be too new, too fast, and I think Mario Kart 8 is going to stick around for a little bit. We'll have some overlap while they test viability on Mario Kart World. But that is a wrap for another episode of HardStuck. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.